What's up, everybody? My name's Karli. If you are not familiar with me, I am an animator in Los Angeles, California. Right now, I'm working for Bless the Hearts on Fox. Right now, you can check it out on Hulu in the first season if you want to do that. I am talking a lot about what I do because there's something I do on the side that's really fun. I want to talk about it to y'all. So, I'm an artist, and I've been freelancing for a very long time, longer than I've worked in animation. And now that I have a full-time job in animation, I do a little freelancing on the side making emotes. So I want to walk y'all through just my personal basic steps and just kind of share like some of my knowledge with y'all, as well as talk about the size and resolution requirements for emotes and just kind of like everything you need to know for how to make an emote that's like good, because they're so small that it's very difficult to sometimes figure out what they're going to look like, and you can't have too much detail, but you don't want them to be too simple, and it's just a whole thing. So we're going to go through that. While we do that, while I'm teaching y'all, I'm actually going to be working on an emote for As Told by Dylan. He's one of our moderators in this chat, and he is a behind the streams host, which is amazing. Y'all really should check him out. I'm his emote artist. I do all of his emotes, and they're really fun to work on. So if you have Dylan emotes, you could always spam my work in the chat. It would be pretty great. So yeah, I guess I am going to transition over to my like Cintiq right now, and I'm going to show you kind of like what my setup is looking like currently. So I do want to talk about first the importance of emotes. Because you're thinking, all right, well, I'm a streamer now, and I really need to set up some emotes, but like, why are emotes so important? Well, if a couple of weeks ago you saw the workshop that I gave on the meanings and interpretations behind emotes, emotes are the primary visual language of Twitch. So even though there are common memes that are shared across the platform of Twitch and just across like different communities, like a pog, for example, right? Like most streamers have a pog. There will be certain emotes that are unique to a streamer, and people do subscribe for very specific emotes. I know I do. So emotes are just an important part of your culture, and you want to make sure that you either create good emotes, because you could make them yourself too, or you get somebody to make emotes that are both on brand and that convey something without you having to know, like without you having to read what it is. Clarity is very important, especially in emotes, because they are small. Show us your magic, Karli. I will. I want to go over first how much to charge. Oh boy. Oh, this is every artist's like favorite topic, is whenever somebody asks you, hey, what's your rate? And you ask them, I don't know, what's your budget? And they go, I don't know, I haven't done this before. What's your rate? And you're like, I haven't done this before either. I don't know what you're talking about. What's your budget? And so on and so forth. I want to talk about the importance of not undercharging your work. I have seen emote artists charge like $5 or $10 per emote. Y'all, your art is worth so much more than that. Like there was literally somebody on the StreamerSquare Twitter clipped me talking about pricing your art adequately, the importance of contracts, and the importance of valuing your art, because art is a luxury product. Okay, I'm going to reiterate that. There's a lot of us, especially just right now, art isn't super appreciated as a profession or as a commodity. Art is a luxury product, chat. Why do you think Michelangelo is so celebrated in our time? Why do you think people used to literally be patrons of the arts? Okay, it's a luxury product. It is unique and specific to you as an artist and to you as the streamer who will be using the emotes. It's very important. So on the artist side of things, please don't charge $10 or less for an emote. Just don't do it. General rule of thumb I have is never work for less than minimum wage. And that bar is on the ground, y'all. That bar is like into the core of the earth. I mean, sorry, the earth is flat. That is like, that's like beyond the earth, you know? It's like this is the earth and then this is the bar and it's just like falling out into space. That's how low the bar is. So don't charge less than minimum wage for your art. Charge at least that, please. If it's going to take you 2 hours to do an emote, that's fine. I don't want to tell you to charge $14 for an emote, but like, you know what I mean. I personally charge $25 an emote because I make them very fast. I can create an emote in about 30 minutes. So I don't want to tell my clients that I charge $50 an hour. I just give them a blanket price because no client is going to want to pay me $50 an hour for an emote. They would much rather pay $25 per emote. You really should not punish yourself if you are a fast and efficient artist. So a lot of people will set a decent hourly rate because, you know, if it takes you a couple of hours to make an emote, that's totally fine. Okay. Like everybody makes art differently. Everybody has a different artistic process. You know, if you want to charge hourly, that is absolutely acceptable and encouraged. If you are fast, you don't want to penalize yourself for being efficient. If anything, you should just be charging more upfront. That's why I personally choose blanket prices, just because I'm not going to tell Dylan, hey, Dylan, I charge $50 an hour. Like, no, that's going to like freak somebody out. Don't do that. I mean, you could, but usually in the emote world, 50 an hour, I don't know. I have seen artists charge up to $50 per single emote. Like you can do that. Okay. So like the sliding bar is very flexible. And another thing to keep in mind as an artist is that by undercharging yourself and by undervaluing the work that you do, you are also undercutting other artists in the emote circle. So if you have two artists, right? Let's pretend that we have two artists and they're both charging like $10 for an emote and they're both like, you know, similar skill levels, right? If somebody decides to do $5 per emote, everybody is going to go to that artist and ask for $5 emotes, while these two artists are working very hard for very little money. It's the same in conventions. When you are selling art at a convention at your booth, you don't want to underprice or undercut anybody at the booth because it messes with the economy, just like of that sphere. Same with emotes. Don't just try to undercut people because, first of all, you're worth it and your art is worth it. And it sucks if you're spending way too much time on a project that pays way too little. It's literally terrible. But also because you do want to make sure to be conscious and aware of artists who do emotes. Some artists do emotes for a living, right? So you don't want to you just want to be conscious of that. Skomar, thank you for the tier 1 12-month subscription to StreamerSquare. I hope you are learning a lot. Welcome to emotes. You're going to learn so much. Tian says, my first one was about 2 hours because I had no idea what I was doing. The second one was around 10 minutes, and the last one was around 30 minutes. Yeah, so that's another thing is like depending on the emote and depending on the project and depending on how many emotes the client wants, it's going to take you different amounts of time. Which is why, like, for me, I charge a blanket fee of just like 25 per, because it could take me half an hour or it could take me way less, whatever, you know? So getting started here, I think I've like covered my pricing thing. That's always like such an uncomfortable topic to talk about with artists, but it's so important. And the more you talk about pricing and the more you do commissions and the more you get used to asking for money from clients, the easier it'll become and the more confident you'll be. If somebody is paying a lot of money for something, they're going to expect really high quality, right? And they're going to respect you more. If somebody is paying you garbage, they're going to see their product as not really that valuable because they're not spending a whole lot of money anyways. So, sorry, I just went on another tangent. I'm very passionate about artists getting paid, so you're going to have to hear this from me a lot. I would apologize, but I'm not sorry. Is that for emotes just as emotes, or emotes as part of a channel branding package as part, possibly, of a team with project management with turnarounds and sign-offs? Mark, I guess I'm not sure how to answer that question. So like I don't do branding packages at all because I'm a really terrible graphic designer, but like artists can absolutely do branding packages for streamers. It happens all the time. You get emotes, a header, you get little panels below your stream, you get bit badges, sub badges, you know, an intro screen, transitions, overlays. You can do all of that. And you can do that by yourself, or you could, I guess, work as a part of a firm that does stuff like that. Mark, it really just depends. But if you have another question, I am more than happy to answer them. So getting started, I'm gonna come over here and I am going to get a brush. Okay, cool. That sounds perfect. So first of all, we're gonna talk about sizes. Twitch emote sizes are 112 by 112 pixels, 56 by 56 pixels, and 28 by 28. That is 112, 56, and 28. However, as of recent, you have only needed to provide Twitch with the 112 by 112 pixel upload for your emotes. Twitch literally, I think like last week or something like that, made it a lot easier. So you no longer have to remember these like arbitrary numbers, which is pretty great. So a lot of y'all notice I'm working with a square canvas. Please, for the love of moly and all that is holy in this world, chat, do not work at 112 by 112 pixels. Please don't do it. You're not going to have a good time at all unless you're like doing the 8-bit stuff, right? Or pixel art. That's fine. Okay. But like, this is the age of technology, chat. You don't need to work that small. There is no rational reason why you would ever need to work that small. So what I personally do, I work at 10 by 10 inches, which is about 3,000 by 3,000 pixels, because you get a nice resolution, you get a nice size, and then you have a nice deliverable asset for your streamer who can use it for other things, which is pretty great. So quick sidebar on using emotes for other things. I personally do not charge any royalties or anything like that for my clients who want to use their emotes on merchandise or use it for like advertising or something like that. So if Dylan decided he wanted to make, as told by Dylan brand Ewok hoodies, because he just loves Ewoks like so much, they're his favorite thing ever. If he wanted to do that and he wanted to use like the emote of Spock that I made him, then I wouldn't charge from that. I wouldn't expect any money, but this is gonna be up to you. So excuse me. This is why contracts are so important, because even though your contract could be as simple as saying, "Hey, Dylan, I'm gonna make you an emote for $25," and we both sign it. Cool, you know? But if you want to include something about royalties, it is very important to be upfront about that with your client, because most of the time clients don't realize that there is a difference between personal and commercial work, and the price gauge significantly varies between that, especially for larger companies, just in general, or like if a stream team wanted you to do like branding and merchandise design, you would, it would be reasonable for you to ask for royalties. I don't, because I just do emotes as a fun hobby, and usually the websites that print out custom merchandise, usually the streamer doesn't make anything off of it. They make like $2. I don't want your 40 cents. You can just you can keep your 40 cents. It's fine. So we can just upload larger emotes. Blasticator, yes, you can upload the 112 by 112, and you don't have to have those 3 different sizes for the emotes anymore. Yes, I gave my client a 1,000 by 1,000 PNG and Twitch accepted it. That's awesome. Possibly weird question. Does receiving a tip feel weird as an artist or come off as disrespectful? No, Micah, it does not. A tip is like a warm, fuzzy feeling when like a friend shows up at your house on a super cold, like bitter cold day with like hot cocoa. They didn't need to do that and you weren't expecting it, but it's really nice. So yes, tipping artists is something that you can do. And you're never obligated to do it, but it's greatly appreciated by artists in the community. It is not disrespectful at all, unless you like, I don't know, unless you like include a condescending note or something like that, then you're fine. When I send PayPal invoices, usually I always leave an option open to include a tip for that reason, just because you don't have to leave me a tip, but I'm going to make the option for you to leave a tip just in case you want to. So that's always really nice. Okay. Yeah, we went through resolution. You're working at 300 DPI, chat. Don't disappoint me on that. You work at your 300 DPI standard resolution nowadays, okay? This is 2020. We don't need to work at 72 DPI for no reason. That's ridiculous unless you're really trying to get something super small for, like, I don't know, website or something. I don't know why anybody would need 72 DPI. I use it sometimes when I need to cram like a large image onto my portfolio website. So yes, 300 DPI, work on a canvas that is square, but also large and something that you can actually work on. So a problem that I had when I first started doing emotes was I'll get everything set up, I'll make sure that everything's fine, got my square canvas, and I'm like, oh man, what's gonna happen like if like how do I fit so much information into one tiny square? And so, chat, my solution to that is very simple. It is so simple that your mind is going to be blown. Are you ready for this new cutting edge technology? You totally aren't. You ready? Pencil and paper. So I have a sketchbook that I just use to draw and do whatever I want on it. And this is how I make my emotes first and foremost. Okay. So I have my little Dylan sing over here. I have a poggers study. So look, I tried to figure out how to draw the poggers before I drew a really cursed Dylan poggers. And then he was like, oh boy, I don't like that. And then he wanted me to change it to this really nice and adorable one. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out where my sketchbook should be held. Yeah, so I just have everything on pencil and paper. And what I do is I just take a really terrible phone screenshot. Sorry, not even a phone screenshot. I just take a phone photo and then I sent it to Dylan on Discord. I was like, hey, how do you like these sketches? And he was like, that's great. Can you make the poggers like not cursed? And I'm like, yeah, I can do that for you. So then literally after that, all I did is I took the Discord screenshot and I opened it in a new tab to open the original. And literally what I'm going to do, copy, paste. The magic of technology, right? So that way I can design an emote and I can accurately convey what I'm trying to express in the emote without having to worry so much about borders or size too much. If I do not have if I don't have like my sketchbook, or if I don't feel like doing that, if I want to do just a normal sketch, then what I will do usually as well is I will zoom in a lot and then I'll work with a really small brush so that way I don't feel like super limited in what I can draw and wear. So that's how I do it, honestly. So yeah, you really want to keep your emotes simple, right? So, for Dylan, I'm going to be working on As Told Nom today. I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Just so I can show y'all a little bit of the process. Now, everybody's artist process is going to be different. This is just what I personally do because it's easiest for me, and this is how I've done it since like I've been using Photoshop. Oh, geez, 2006. It's been a while. I've been using Photoshop for a while. So this has just been my process for years now, but you can do it different as well. First thing you want to do is you want to make sure to blow up your drawing as big as possible. You want this thing to fill most of the screen because your emote is so tiny. Like a lot of y'all are spamming emotes in chat right now. You will notice how the poggers has the sides of the face cut off. The Loco Hug has the top of her head cut off to fit in the bounding box. The Booker S has his neck cut off. Loco Glare is cut off on the head and on the neck because sometimes cutting parts of the body off. I would never recommend this in a normal illustration class, but for emotes specifically, sometimes you need to cut off part of the face and risk getting that cut off look in order to accurately make sure that people can see what the emote is. I would say that Loco Sneak is a fantastic example that A. Dan Jones made of a full person within this tiny little box, and yet the head is still cut off because the head and the forehead and some of the hair is not the most important part of the body. So you need to be able to prioritize what is most important. So for example, this is fine. This as told nom is fine, right? But if I wanted to, I could scale it up even more and kind of just cut this off right here so I could get like a really big hamburger. But I'm not going to do that just yet because I want to ink this and find out what it'll look like later. So in general, I would suggest that you just play around with it. Just make sure to have fun when you're making emotes. And if you use Photoshop like I do, I'm not sure about other drawing programs, but there's a fantastic setting in Photoshop that I'm going to show y'all. If you go over to Edit, Preferences, General, it's going to bring up the whole like Photoshop sample thing. And it's going to be in, I think, where is this? Yeah, in Tools. So Preferences and Tools, if you click Over Scroll, it's gonna save your life, y'all. It's really gonna save your life. So over scroll basically means that I can go anywhere on this canvas and be totally chill, right? And it's not gonna like snap to the bounding box in my like interface on Photoshop, which that's really helpful for me because I always like to keep my canvas towards the left side because I'm right-handed. I have my keyboard on the left side, and you know, it's another workflow thing that you don't need it, but I think it's very helpful. And when I figured out that overscroll was a thing, I was like so angry that I had been doing art for like years without it. It's amazing. Yeah, TN is screaming probably because it's a super useful thing. Why did they hide that? I don't know. I was upset about it too, dude. It's the worst. But now you know. Now you know. Okay. Small artist thing that I want to touch on here, if you are the one making the emotes, is I don't know what size brush I use for all of my emotes, but you want to make sure that it's a consistent size. It doesn't have to be the exact same size. You want your line art to be the same, because otherwise it'll be weird, right? So I have an as told pog over here that I made. Some people put in the chat it's the as told wow, and you will notice this line art is pretty consistent, and this is way too thick, chat. This is not good. So what I do when I make a new emote is I'll open a file of the previous emote that I made for my client and just try to get as close to the original brush shape as I could. So this is probably good. Yeah, that's good. And then I'm not going to save that because I don't care. Do you ever provide a cropped and uncropped version? That way cropped can be the emote, but the full art is available for other use. I do not do that actually. Usually for me personally, right? So when I freelance, I offer a very limited number of revisions because I have unfortunately had to learn the hard way that there will be clients in your life who just nitpick every single little thing, every single tiny thing. And so, you know, something that took me half an hour to make, right, could turn into a 5-hour project because the client can't make up their mind on different things. So usually I just trust myself to know what looks best, and I go with that, honestly. And if the streamer later wants to commission me to make the full version, I will do that as well. But I would just generally say, when it comes to clients, sorry, anybody who's ever like hired an artist, you're probably going to be upset at this, but this is like prime artist knowledge. The less options a client has, the better. And it's not because you want to be mean, and it's not because you don't want to work for them. It's because clients don't know what they're talking about. That's why they're hiring you to make the art. The client doesn't know these random things about over scroll on Photoshop. You know, that's not their job. It's not their job to know graphic design aspects, okay? So if I were to say, give a client a zoomed in and a not zoomed in, it's an extra step that I would have to take, and it's an extra option that they would go, oh, I can ask for this next time. And it's like, no. I'm sorry, I don't want to deal with that. So it's also a basic principle in sales where if you go into a store and there are too many items, the person who comes in to shop for you is going to get they're going to get like a buyer's overload. They're not going to be able to make a decision because there are so many different options for what they want. So in a store, you want to curate what you sell to your client so that way the choice is easier. So they can see, oh, I really like this and I really appreciate the way that this looks. I want this, instead of having them overwhelmed with options, because that is a thing that happens a lot. And the indecisive client is not one that you want to deal with, especially if you are on a deadline or need to do other emotes for this person or have another commission lined up after them. Does this mean that the ultimate nightmare customer is the customer who, with half a semester of graphic design school? Yes, A-Greens. Actually, yes. The worst kind of client is the one who will come to you and say, oh, I'm like the best client ever. Artists love me. And I'm like, if you had to tell me that, there's something wrong. I know a guy. Love him to death. He's good. I worked for him a couple of times. He's amazing. Love him. We're really good friends. Tells me he's really good with artists, and because he's commissioned so many works of art from so many different artists, that he's like a great client because he knows how it goes. This was not the case. I love the guy to death. I do. And we're great friends, and I don't want to like shit talk anybody, but like usually if somebody has to tell you that they're a great client, they're not. I don't know what Karli is talking about, so I'll just nod and say that the blast processing they've done is awesome. Thanks. I don't know what blast processing is, Cisco, at all. The customer is right only in capitalist society, Scomor, and I'm pretty sure I don't know if I get to finish that on stream. I'm just gonna stop right there. Analysis paralysis, I've heard it called. Yes, absolutely. So anyways, sorry, I got on a little tangent here. So in general, you want to try to have your line art be as smooth as you can possibly get, unless your client says, I want jittery line work, which does actually happen, right? So, I have very broad, thick strokes to my work, and people like that. My partner, Dangle, has much tinier strokes, and he adds a lot more detail to the art that he makes for his emotes. So there are different versions of line art. I like thicker lines because it's more succinct for me and it communicates better. But TN just made some emotes with very thin line work, and it looks great. So don't try to, I guess, you don't need to do your emotes exactly like I am. Like, every artist is different, and the reason why someone will commission you is because they want you specifically. They want your style. They want your art. If Dylan is still in the chat, I want to know if he still wants this nom to be a hamburger, or if he wants it to be that breakfast bar in the morning that he eats every day for that company he's trying to get a sponsorship for. So I'm going to continue and do his little head. I love drawing Dylan because he's so simple to draw. That's another thing too, is emote creation is not just making an emote. Sometimes emote creation is also character design, and you deserve to be compensated for that work that you do. Hamburger, okay. Wow, she just called me simple. I did not call you simple, Dylan. Don't you go picking fights in my chat. I will fight you. I will stop this emote right now, and I'll make a new emote for myself. And you won't get this at all. In general, I would recommend that if you do not personally know your clients like I do, so because I'm a full-time animator, I do emotes for fun on the side because I like them. But in general, I would recommend being professional, being on time with your work. If you say that you're going to deliver artwork on a day, you need to do everything in your power to make sure that happens. Now, I've been guilty of not doing this for the past year, so I do need to get better about that. But personal responsibility as a freelancer is so important. I cannot understate it enough. So yeah, I'm just going to do his little mouse and nomming on a hamburger. A nom is a very common emote for Twitch streamers, usually because people are, streamers eat and everybody likes a good snack. And there are lots of streamers that have Treat Stream, or they're sponsored by, excuse me, different food companies. If you get a little numb, talking about some snacks, taking a lunch break, now everybody can spam the nom. Also, I personally just really like these little popcorn hands. I draw them all the time on my art, and they just make me so happy. One of the reasons I really like to do emotes for people is because they want me to do emotes in my style. So when I work in animation, I don't work in my style all day. I work in right now I'm working in Bless the Heart style. So I don't get to draw Karli. I get to draw other things. Okay, stopping point here. Good teaching topic. All right, let's say you have your line art here. This is like, wow, that's so nice, but I wonder how this is gonna look. Just zoom out to see like how tiny it is and if it still reads as an emote. I'm going to go into detail a little bit later about this because there are websites that I use to test to see if my emote is like adequate or not. But one of the things that you can do that's very simple is to just zoom out. Now I'm making these sesame seeds pretty big. Like normally I would make a sesame seed like that, right? Like a normal hamburger sesame seed, but because this is an emote, you got to make sure that you have big things because people are just not going to see it otherwise, and it's going to be very confusing to them. Also, if anybody has any questions, please continue to throw them my way because I'm just going to keep talking and drawing and talking because this is a really chill workshop for artists to learn how to make emotes and do fun and cool things with their art. Something else that's very important when we get to the coloring stage, I'll talk about this more, but something that's also very important about your emotes is you need to make sure that contrast is key, y'all. I mean, I don't even know how else to say it. It's just you want to have good contrast in your work so that way, especially when it's that small, you can see like what it is, right? It's all about clarity. And clarity is one of those words where like someone will tell you, oh, clarity is key. And I mean, it is, but more specifically, contrast and shape and silhouette are things that will help you to specifically make something recognizable. Can you talk a little bit about the need for clarity from the client in terms of what they want? Sure, Dylan. Oh man, I think so there was actually a workshop. It was what was that, behind the streams? I think it was. Yeah, with artists and their streamers. So it was Taffy and his artist. Is that DJ Knight, I believe, is Taffy's artist right now, and then me filling in, and Dylan. So that was really fun. And one of the things we talked about is how to communicate with your client, which is so important because if you can't communicate with your client, you're going to have some issues when it comes to drawing things. So, for example, when I communicate with my clients, I will always send them a sketch. Some artists do not do this, and you're just gonna regret it later. I'm just gonna say it. So I will allow a couple of revisions to a sketch, and then I'll allow a couple of revisions to the color. If you want me to change the entire sketch after it's already been colored, I'm gonna charge you for that because I already made it, I already inked it, and it's even worse if you're an animator. What about sizing so the emotes don't mix or merge with those above, below, to the side in large emote spam runs? Thermal Knight, that's it, not DJ Knight. Thermal Knight is McLaffy Taffy's artist, and he is fantastic. Sizing so that emotes don't mix or merge with those above. So Mark, I guess I don't personally concern myself with that just because if you'll notice higher in chat, we have Braided Zeus with a nom and then Morgue Smash with some Among Us emotes. With an emote, unless it's Better Twitch TV, you can't like super overlap them. Like I know that you can, like if you're spamming several emotes at the same time, you can do that, but in general it shouldn't be an issue for you. And if it is, your streamer can ask you to I don't know, shrink them down maybe, but it's generally not something I concern myself with. Have you ever used anything other? Oh, okay, Skomar. Yeah, I see what you mean. So yeah, no, Mark, I don't concern myself with that because you can't. I would rather have clarity than shrink something down so it doesn't overlap with each other. Have you ever used anything other than a Cintiq? Like there's a Huon Canvas Pro I've been looking at on Amazon that's way cheaper, but I'm wondering if it's worth it. Morg, yes. So I am a Wacom kid. That's just kind of what I have always used, and that they were the best for a while before Huon came along. Sorry, y'all. I'm grabbing colors. Yeah, you gotta color grab from your emotes to make sure the color palette is accurate. Don't just keep making up your colors, y'all. Just color match. It's fine. Yes, Morg. So I use Wacom, but I have heard amazing things about the Huon, specifically because of how affordable it is, and then its quality compared to Wacom is pretty similar. In terms of longevity, I cannot vouch for any Huon products, but for a Wacom, for me, I got this Cintiq from studio that I was working at. They were like getting rid of their office and sold it to me. Wacom products can last like a good decade or something like that, especially if you take really good care of them. I do not know about that with Huon, but if you don't want like too big of an investment to sink into, then I'd probably just go with Huon. XP Pen is also something that you can do, just so you know. XP Pen, yeah, TN has XP Pen, yeah. Can you make a swatch for all the colors for each project? Morag, you could, but I am lazy, and I don't do that. Okay, so my sketch is done. I'm gonna hide the sketch layer because I don't need that anymore. And I have my paint bucket tool selected, and I have all layers selected, so that way when I make a new layer underneath the ink for color, it automatically just fills in the lines, just like that. Easy peasy, moly squeezy. Just like that. I need one of his shirt. Oh, Mark, do you have a Huon as well? How is it? I'm always very interested in other people's reviews of other hardware, just because I love Wacom. I've done sponsored events for Wacom, and I just think it's a great product overall. However, I do think that it's about time that there was some other major competitor in the ring to work to make these digital tools more affordable, because I mean, art is mostly digital now. Making your income online is mostly digital now, and there's a huge barrier. That it's a massive barrier to try to buy these electronics so you can start making art. It's ridiculous. Especially for people in more marginalized groups who are already at an economic disadvantage. I talked a little bit about this. I believe it was with Zombie. But just the price point is a huge barrier to entry for a lot of artists, and that's just not right, in my opinion. Wacom has dominated the market for so long, and I feel like Huon coming up right behind them and going, better watch yourself, I think is a very healthy form of competition. I have an old Wacom Intuos. Is that an Intuos? Is that an Intuos tablet? I used to have the Intuos tablet. I loved it to death. Krita is an awesome art program I have heard for art, just in general, because I think it's free, isn't it? I don't want to make the burger bun the same color as Dylan. Dylan's not burger bun colored. Sorry, y'all. I'm having an issue with his burger bun right now. They're like such a weird color, and they're kind of light, but not really. Okay, that's fine. Krita is free. Yes, it is. Thank you, Farrah Helena. It is. So if you can't afford like an Adobe subscription, Krita is another option. Clip Studio Paint is massively popular among artists. We have studio artists who will use Clip Studio for storyboarding and things like that. So there are always more affordable options for artists, especially nowadays, and I am so here for it. So here for it. Yeah, the tablet. Oh my gosh, Morg. It took me like a year and a half to be able to get used to using. I started with a tiny Wacom Bamboo Fun, and yeah, once I started using Cintiqs in college, I just kind of never went back. So what I did now is I've filled in all the colors, but if you notice, there is some fuzzies here. So usually my next step in the process is to just go back and fill in around the line art. There are ways to get around this issue, like with the selection tool. I just forget how that works, and this is just kind of, this has been my process for forever, and sure, it's not the most efficient, but it makes me happy to do. So I'm just gonna fill in so that way we get some nice, solid, clean line art for Dylan to be able to use in his chat. He's nomming on his little hamburger. Now would be a great time for me to check and see if it still reads, even though it is super tiny. Yes, it does. I don't know if y'all can see it. I don't know how big it is on y'all's screen. I mean, but when I go ahead and finish with this emote, I'm going to show y'all. There are several websites that I use to check my emotes. I believe if you put exclamation point emote test or emotes in the chat, it will pull up a link from the bot to the websites that I use, because there are a couple of them, but I use two of them. And usually which one I use just depends on my mood, honestly. A lot of art stuff is like, you can take notes all you want. You can copy everything that I do right here to a T, and it's still not going to turn out the same because every artist is different and unique, and I just find that really beautiful. So I'm going to fill in Dylan's little popcorn hands. I noticed Morg said that I am fast. Thank you. This is why I charge, as much, or I guess as little as I do. It's also something I just do for fun. So if I was doing this for a living, I would honestly probably charge upwards of 50 per emote, just because, like, right now I have insurance through my employer. Like, artists, they don't get insurance at all. You know, that's not going to pay the bills. So yes, emote test. Thank you. Is there a particular pen style for your hand and resolution minimum that you use? Yes. 300 DPI always. I don't even care if I'm peeking the mic right now. You always use your 300 DPI for emotes. Always do that. Just do it. Yeah. I'm not going to go any further because the loco mods will make fun of me for being passionate about resolution for art, but it's just this whole thing. Okay? It's just this whole story. I'm not going to get into it or why I end up going on tangents about this, but I'm just going to tell you that we used to not be the best with our resolution, and now we are. Mods. How do you set it to 300 DPI? When you make a new canvas, you have Untitled, so this is for my clipboard. I'll have 10 by 10, 300 dots per inch, right there. Right there where it's rotated. If I wanted to change the DPI, I could do that right now by hitting Control-Alt-I, or I believe that would be image, adjustments, no, image size, to get to the same thing. So here's 300 pixels per inch. I'm going to turn it back to 72. And that's going to shrink it significantly, but it's also going to make the file much smaller. So I am going to undo this because I'm not going to hand Dylan emotes like that. But yeah, there is something. I don't know how to explain. But there is something when there is a point where DPI doesn't matter when it comes to like canvas size, because if you're working on a really big canvas size, you're going to have a higher DPI anyways, and vice versa. So once you get to a point, it's not needed. But I don't understand any of that, so I'm just going to tell y'all to do 300 DPI because it's the standard. Mark also had a second question, but then I got derailed. PPI. Oh, pixels per inch. Yeah, we have DPI, so that's dots per inch. Particular pen style. As far as pen style, Mark, I just really, this is the standard Photoshop, like, hard round brush. That's what I like to use for emotes. I have some more textured ones that I'll do when I'm inking for other projects, or like I have this like chalky, oh yeah, this is like my favorite brush right now. Look at those. Oh, I just love it. It's nice and textured and cute. There we go. But in general, I just use the default Photoshop hard round brush. And that is fine for me. I know like other artists can use different types of brushes, and that's totally chill. It's just up to you and what your aesthetic is and what your streamer wants. Usually though, if you're doing emotes, I would recommend just using the hard round brush, just because lots of streamers, when they go to you for commissions, they'll kind of expect a certain it's not that like streamers want emotes to be the same style, because there's going to be variations regardless of who you commission, but there's still the standard of lots of streamers like very clear lines. Sometimes the line art is colored, sometimes it's not, but they like very airbrushed, painterly looking emotes, which is why I always emphasize that contrast is so important. Pen hardware type. This is a Wacom Pen Pro. This isn't the default one that I used with my Cintiq. I don't know why I had to order this one. Oh, yes, I remember. So I had this. Whenever you order like a Wacom or a Huon or an XP, it's going to come with a pen generally. But when I updated my Wacom driver, it made my old pen that I had been using for like 5 or 6 years obsolete. So I had to upgrade to the Pro. The Pro pen is pretty much, it's the same thing. I don't get very picky when it comes to my pen and its capabilities, but a lot of people do. So again, it's really up to the artist. I think I already did that. Okay, cool. So I've added in the color, and now what I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing the shading. I'm going to hold Alt, and that's going to make the layer above the color layer a mask. What this means is that now, even though I'm on the shading layer above the color layer, I can't draw outside of the bounds of Dylan's little face, which is really helpful for me because I need like a big Cintiq, and I draw with my whole like elbow. So for me, the XP pen came with 2. That's really nice. Yeah, if y'all have like Wacom pen holders, a little cylindrical pen holder, just in general, if you take it and twist it and open it, there's going to be more pen tips hidden inside. Just for anybody who didn't previously know that. I like to have my shading layer on a multiply layer, which it's not for everybody. You don't need to do that. I'm converting this layer back to normal so I can actually just color pick what I want over here. Bam, and then bam, just like that. And so what multiply does basically is I'm going to switch to my hard soft brush now. I'm going to switch over, decide where my light source is going to be. Generally, I want the face to be illuminated, so my light is going to be over here somewhere. And I'm just going to kind of shade. So multiply will take whatever color that you have and that you're painting with, and it'll add, it'll add more tone and saturation to what you're working on. So it adds just a really nice layer, and it's also very fast to use a multiply layer. You don't have to really rely too much on color theory. You can if you want to. Like, nobody's going to stop you from doing that. But in general, I do one layer of the shadow, and then I will do a second pass over of just a little bit darker, so that way you can get that emphasis and add the contrast, because having really dark darks and really light lights is going to help your emote stand out even more and read to the human eye. What has been the most layers you have dealt with for one emote? Not that many more. I guess like when I was younger, there was a project I was working on that was like over 100 layers or something ridiculous like that. And it wasn't an emote, it was just me. It was just me drawing. But in general, this is all I need. I need the background, because that's the default one and I never get rid of it. I have my sketch layer, my inks layer, my colors, and my shadows. Sometimes I do highlights depending on if I feel like it. Sometimes I just do the shadows and the highlights on the same layer, because I used to not do that when I was a wee baby artist. I used to not do that because I would always draw on the wrong layer, and then I would ruin everything, and you can't control Z when you're painting because there's so many strokes and blah, 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 blah. But now I just kind of... So I guess 5 I don't know, maybe 10 layers. I can't imagine using 10 layers on an emote just because they're so simple. If that answers your question. Man, chat is being a butt to me today, chat. Let me just, sorry, not y'all, I'm just talking about like Twitch chat. Let me see if that works. Okay, cool. Now we're back. Yes, thank you. A-Greens, your shouting in chat actually helped. It helped bring chat back. Thank you. Yeah, when choosing a light source for your emote, it's important that your light source doesn't have to match up for every single emote you make. So sometimes Dylan's light is over here in this upper corner right here. Sometimes it's in this upper corner. You don't have to keep your lighting consistent for emotes because the only thing that matters with emotes is clarity. So you don't need to worry about continuity, things like that. Which is pretty nice. Right. Okay. Oh, you know what? I done goofed, chat. I done goofed. I got the wrong color for Dylan's hair. This is something that like your client isn't ever going to notice, but it's something that you notice and you really want to take pride in your work. So I went back and selected the right color. I was wondering why his shadow was it was very reddish. That's not what I wanted. That's not what I chose for a reason. Okay, there we go. That face when Twitch chat is more Twitch than chat. Yeah, oh my gosh, it really has been for me today. It's been such a butt. It's not very kind, Twitch chat. But you're nice. You chat are nice, but Twitch is not being nice to me. Gotta get dark down here. Bam, 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 bam. And just like that, you basically have an entire emote. All I gotta do now is add the highlights, and I will show y'all how to check your emote. And then we're going to be done. This is going to be it. So basically, I'm just going to finish this emote for y'all. If you want to hang around and watch the a little bit more of my process and how I do things. If not, you know, just ask away. Ask all your little artist questions. I noticed that a lot of artists have showed up in chat today, which is just amazing. And I really appreciate y'all for coming out to support the channel, to support StreamerSquare. We've done a lot of growth in this past year alone, and I couldn't be prouder to be part of this team, teaching about something that I love to do is emotes. So, yeah, if anybody like has any like artist advice that they would like to ask, that would be I'm totally. I mean, I've been freelancing for years. So if you want to like ask about a client or something like that, and you know, keep it anonymous, I can help you out with that. You can always just hit me up if you need like pricing advice or things like that. You know what I'm also going to do, chat? I'm going to add an adorable little, I'm going to add some little shinies on his eyes. There we go. That's so cute. All right, highlights, almost done. I'm going to select highlights. Bam. Feel free to ask any questions. Yeah, Dylan, feel free to ask any questions about freelancing for artists. Yeah, save every 5 seconds. Oh my gosh, y'all. So I stream sometimes, right? Whenever I feel like it, and you know, just again as a hobby, I'll make my emotes on stream. Something I always like to yell at people for: save your work. Literally, I just saved like 2 or 3 times in the past like second that I've been talking. Every time that I look over at the screen, I save before I look over. Every time I do like a different piece. So right now I'm done with Dylan's hair. I just saved it, right? I'm going to select Dylan's skin, and I'm going to select a color for his highlights. And then I'm going to do the highlights, and then I'm going to save again. You know why? Because it sucks if you lose your project. Thankfully, we have modern technology now where you, if you lose a project, you know, there are certain recovery methods that programs will have nowadays that will help you to recover your lost artwork. I remember back in the day, you know, if your computer short-circuited or if the program just crashed, you're just done. That's it. You have to do it all over again. Artist, I don't like the shinies. Wow, Dylan doesn't like the shinies, guys. Chat, Dylan hates me. Oh my gosh, no. So when a client gives you feedback, just listen to them. It's their emote. It's not a personal attack on you. It's just like a personal preference. But I'm gonna choose to take it personally just because I'm gonna take everything personally with Dylan. Or a power outage. Yeah, geez. Oh my gosh. Power outages are literally like the worst thing ever because you never see it coming. You never see it coming ever. Like, not even normally. Like, if you're just at work and you're like working on, I don't know, what do non-artists do at work? You work on like Excel or something like that? You're just at work working on Excel and bam, power outage. Sucks. But if you're an artist or, oh my gosh, God forbid you do 3D for a living, the power goes out, dog steps on the power strip switch, earthquake. Yeah, in case your email goes out, Skomar. Yeah, just like the simplicity of the eyes closed. Aw, okay, cute. I mean, wow, Dylan, this is a personal attack against me, and I can't believe that you would do that. I'm just kidding. Something I also like to do, just in general, a little bit of color theory for y'all, is I like to go, if I'm shading this bright orange, right? I'm gonna make the highlight a little bit yellow, just so it'll, I don't know, it's just nice. It just looks nice. Just using congruent colors in your shading really just adds an extra layer to everything. Karli, this is a great segue to talk about dealing with revisions. Okay, so I did mention this a little bit ago when I first started the segment with y'all, but if you have have a client and you did not specify how many revisions you are allowing your client to have, you better talk about that, because a client isn't going to know what a revision is until you bring it up. They're going to be like, what is that? What do you mean I just can't change everything at the drop of a hat? You know, like what do you mean I can't ask you for more specific things? Because there is a line to draw where your client wants to feel like they get the most bang for their buck, and you want to feel like you are being compensated for the work that you're doing. So if Dylan right now decided that he didn't want this emote at all, and that he wanted me to change, if he wanted me to change what he was eating, or if he wanted me to do a completely different variation, I would charge him for a whole new emote, because right now I'm done. I finished this emote. It's complete, you know? It looks really good when it's tiny, you know, and I'm ready to turn it in. And if Dylan has seen the sketch and he doesn't only want to change the colors, I'm going to charge him more. So usually what's going to happen is you need to communicate with your client, because the client doesn't realize that asking for a lot of revisions can be very taxing emotionally. First of all, saving a PNG of this. So it's very important when you work for somebody to establish boundaries. Very important. If you... this is why I recommend not really working with your friends, because separating a friendship from a professional relationship can be challenging, especially if you're freelancing. If you're starting out freelancing, I would definitely recommend, like, don't work with your friends. Or if you are working with your friends, just establish, you know, boundaries, right? All right, so now I have this PNG file, and now I just need to resize it again to 112 pixels. Okay. And what I'm going to do, I'm not going to save this file for a very specific reason. I'm going to save a new version of the file that's going to be as told nom 1. I just do 1, 2, and 3, right? So PNG for the 112 by 112, I'm going to Control Z back to the original resolution, and then I'm going to save it. If you save a Photoshop document while it's teeny tiny and you forget to Control Z out, and then you have to go back and do an edit. Hello? What's up? Chat. Okay. Okay. Sick. Do you have a standard contract that you use, Morag? Yes, I actually do. I went to my lawyer friend's firm and commissioned them for a standard contract that they are writing specifically for my freelance work. So I'm going to be using that when it's done. Generally, what I do is I write my terms and conditions in PayPal's terms and conditions when I send an invoice. So client agrees to pay me this much. You know, you're going to get this many revisions. After that, it's going to be like a $25 fee or whatever, et cetera, et cetera. And by paying, you acknowledge and agree to those terms and conditions. So that's something that I do. What rescaling type do I tend to like? I just do Control Alt I, and I just rescale the entire image. So that's fine. You need a Karli face channel now? Did you mean a this? Okay, so now that I have all of this saved out, I'm gonna go to the website that y'all are gonna use. So inspect Twitch elements. So if you go to what was it? Emote check. What's the command? I can't remember. But there's a bot command right now. Emote test. Thank you, Skomar. There's a bot command with these two websites. This is inspect Twitch elements and emote testers by Levi 506. I like this one a lot. So I'm gonna go over here. I'm gonna find my PNG image of as told nom. Where did it go? Y'all, I don't know where I saved this file. Oh, it should be there. Oh, okay, now it's showing up. Sorry, Photoshop being a butt. All right, so I got my as told num, and I'm going to, you know what? I don't even use that one. I just use this one. That's the one I use. You just drag and drop it right in there. Testing some icons. Come on, man. Come on. Oh, oh, can you hear me now? They can hear me? Okay, they can't see me. I'm frozen. Oh no. Thank you. Google Chrome is not doing well on my end. Come on, man. Oh, whoa. Give me a sec. All right. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm so sorry about that. Google Chrome and my internet just decided to be a not kind word. That's what happened to me. So, anyways, you go into your folder here. All right. Thank you so much for your patience. I'm so sorry about that. Yes. Google Chrome and my internet just decided to be a not kind word. That's what happened to me. So, anyways, you go into your folder here. Sorry about yes. Can they hear that echo? Can they hear that echo? I don't. I have no idea.